Okay. So we're talking about if it's mutter to do the beer, the first beer on Shabbos is the problem. We had the issue about making a Pesach, about the dam. And even if you hold that he's not doing that, but maybe it's maybe Dov Shem is Kavan is Aser. Maybe it's still mutter because of Makalkel. That was the sugya. We ended off that even though we had two brises, it said that it's Aser, but Rav and Shmuel were arguing, and two Neschos, which one is Mekel. In Rav's town, they said that Rav is matir. In Shmuel's town, they said Shmuel's matir. Because there's somebody that's matir, even though Rav holds Dov Shem is Kavan is Aser, but it could be Makalkel, as we said. It's still a reason why it should be mutter. And we're up to what happens this again? Daf Vav. So we're up on the bottom. Masiv Rav Chisda. So we're going to try to find proofs about this as a mutter to be boiled the first time on Shabbos. Masiv Rav Chisda. Yes, the kasha from Mishnah Nida. Tino kishalo gives mana liros. V'nises. Pesham yom imnosan lo arba leilos. V'nisel om b'mach tech yamak. Here's talking about dam besula. Means that when a woman sees blood, it could be the dam nida says she's a nida. But in the beginning, when she first is a virgin and first beer, so then it could be that it's the hymen blood. It could be that it's a dam basulam. Dam basulam doesn't make her a nida. So how long is he allowed to rely? What's the word? To assume that the blood that she's seeing is just from the basulam and it's not dam nida. So here it talks about different levels of how old she is. The older she is, of course, it comes more spora that she might become a nida. The first case is that she's young. She's not even of age to expect to see a menstrual cycle. She's less than 12 years old, and she got married and had relations, and she sees blood. How long could you assume that it's dam basulam before you have a chash? Maybe it's dam nida. Beishamai says 4 nights of relations. That all that blood she consumed that is dam basulam. After that, you have to be choshesh. Maybe it's dam nida. Until the wound is healed, which means that as long as they have relations, but every time they have relations, she sees blood, you can still assume that it's the dam basulam. That each time is getting a little bit more bruised and ruptured, and that's all the blood of the dam basulam. You don't have to be choshesh that it's dam nida until one time they had relations and there was no blood. That means that they got healed. But then if she sees blood, you have to be choshesh that is dam nida. That was the first case where it was no gears manaliros. She didn't even get 12 years old. She didn't start a menstrual cycle yet, and she's not even of age. The next case is gears manaliros, that she's already 12 years old. So it's more mistaber that it's dam. It could be dam nida. Also, Rashi says that she didn't ever have a menstrual cycle yet, but she's already of age. So now it is more machmir. We have to be more choshesh. Maybe it's dam nida. And it says only the first night of relations do we attribute the blood to dam basulam. After that, she should be choshesh that is dam nida. 4 nights. So in the first case, Beisil was more mekel ashtich yamaka until the wound is healed, and in the second case, he's mekel. He's more machmir. Not more machmir misham. Each one goes up a notch. Bisham is before said 4 nights. Here he says 1 night. He said before until the wound is healed, and here he says the 4 nights. But here he does say ad motzoi Shabbos abaleilos. He doesn't just say ad abaleilos. He says tum motzoi Shabbos 4 nights. Why does he say motzoi Shabbos? Because we said in our Masechta that the norm is that the Basul gets married on Wednesday. So it's Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, motzoi Shabbos. So that's how you get. He's also saying the same point about 4 nights, but he does say ad motzoi Shabbos. So if you count motzoi Shabbos 4 nights, that sounds like Friday night is also one of the nights. And our subject is talking about if they're allowed to have a beer on Friday night, and here it says that the Friday night is included in one of the 4 nights. So it sounds like they are allowed to have relations on Shabbos. Now the question is it the first time? So here the Gemara, that's what the Gemara goes through now. Is it talking about that they're having the first time relation? My love, dilo bol matzi bol. Afilu b'Shabbos. Doesn't it imply that even if they didn't have relations at all yet, they'd be allowed to have relations on Shabbos? Now, of course, it doesn't mean they didn't have relations at all, because if they didn't have relations at all, then even if they're married for a month and now they have the first time, so they're not going to say that it's too late after the 4 nights. You have to be a choshesh that it's already dam nida. Of course, the dam basulam only is to us once you start having a relations. But the point is that he didn't make a bia gemura. Rashi points out that he didn't do an ilabal bila gemura. That when he makes the bia, he could do it in a way that surely a big chance that he got the basulam out or not, and not all the basulam came out. So the Gemara thinks that he's having a relations and he's rupturing the basulam more, and it's happening on Shabbos. And that's the question: are you allowed to do that on Shabbos? We spoke about the fact that he's taking out the blood, maybe he's making a Pesach. These are the issues. If here it says that he's allowed to have relations on Shabbos, even though he's rupturing the basulam more, it sounds like he's allowed to do it on Shabbos. So Rava deflects the right. Rava lo, the Shabbos. Even though it says till Mosai Shabbos, 4 nights. It doesn't mean all 4 nights. It just means that you count from Wednesday night till Mosai Shabbos. That's 4 nights. But maybe you cannot have relations on Friday night. But Abai said no. It says that. It says it says 4 nights till Mosai Shabbos. That means including Friday night. So he's having relations. So the Gemara thinks it's a good raya that he's allowed to have relations on Shabbos, even though he's rupturing there's dam and there's a Pesach. So it's a proof that it's mutter. Rava says a different way. Rava first started he gives him to abide that the first dichoy is not a good dichoy, but kishabol. Now kishabol means that it isn't the first time mamish. Back to what Rashi said before, that's not the first time mamish. He did have relations, and now the question is that he's still having more relations and he's still rupturing more. So there's more of a Pesach, there's more of dam. So isn't that a right that it's mutter? So now Rav is going to say it's a difference. There's a difference between the first time mamish, that he's mamish bringing out the dam, he's mamish making a Pesach, and afterwards, once he had a bia, even though it didn't do a bia gemura, and it still is causing blood, it is still causing the Pesach to get bigger. That you're right. That's a right that it's mutter. Again, the Gemara thought that as a right that there's no difference the first night or the third night if it's still bringing out blood and making a Pesach, so it's a right that it's mutter even the first time. And now the Gemara is distinguishing, no, that the first time is maybe more chomer. Maybe it says here that you're allowed to continue to be bold, even though he didn't finish getting out the psulim, he didn't finish making the Pesach, but that's more lenient than doing it for the first time. As the Gemara explains.
Excuse me, Kishabal means the first time?
No, that he already was bold. No, he was already bold. He's doing it on Friday night when he was already bold Wednesday night, Thursday night. Then he's allowed to continue doing it Friday night, but he cannot do it for the first time. Abai, what the one
he's doing Kishabal
when he was already bold.
Right.
When is it mutter to be bold on Friday night? When he was already bold before that. And even though now he's still continuing to bring out blood and to make a Pesach, so what's the difference? No, there's a difference. The first time is more chamor. Maybe the first time he's not allowed to do it, but once he was bold before, maybe it's more lenient. As the Gemara explains, why should it be? What's the chiddush that it's mutter? No, the chiddush is that it is a chiddush. Kamashmalan the shari lemivul b'Shabbos, that it is mutter to be bold. Even the second and third time is also a chiddush because there is some blood coming out and there is making a Pesach. Kiddush Shmuel, the Amar Shmuel appears that the chukah mutter likvanas b'Shabbos. Shmuel said that a tight squeeze, a pirza means a breach in a wall. You're allowed to go through it, even though as you go through, you're making the wall, the pirza bigger, like you're making fall pebbles out of the wall, means that you're making a bigger Pesach. The mashal, I think it's only a mashal. I think it's figurative. He doesn't want to talk about the bia. He's talking about a wall as if there's a wall with shroros. But the point is to say that he made a bia once already, so he made a breach. But the fact that he's going again, and still there's more of the basulim that was not yet ruptured, and he's rupturing more, and blood, and the Pesach is getting a bit bigger, that's mutter. So what happened so far? The first raya was that it says that it's mutter. See, allowed to be bold on Shabbos if it's the first 4 nights. And Rabbi says it's true. You do have a raya from here that it's mutter to do the subsequent beilos, even though he's also rupturing and making blood, and the Pesach is getting bigger. That I do have a right that is mutter, but you don't have a right that the first time is mutter. The first time where he's making the breach the first time, and he's mamish bringing out the blood, and mamish making a Pesach. Maybe that's more chomer. You have no right that it's us. You have no right that it's mutter. Next right, Masav Rav Yosef. It says in Mishnah we learned this in Shabbos. Chasen pater mikriyesh ma'alai levisha not inside Shabbos and lost on mice. Right. Yeah, true. The more try to bring a right that it's mutter. And Rabbi deflected the raya. It could be that it's really yasser. It's only see that it's raya. It's mutter afterwards the first time, but the first time you don't have a raya yet. Pasuk of Yosef, the Mishnah says in Brachas that a chassan is pater mikriyesh ma'alai the first night until Motzei Shabbos means 4 nights. As long as he didn't yet succeed in making a bia, so then he's nervous about the bia, and that's toward to the mitzvah, and therefore he's pater mikriyesh ma'alai, osik b'mitzvah pater b'mitzvah, as the Gemara in Shabbos and Brachas over there says that even though it's not mamish osik b'mitzvah, just that he's Torah because he's doing a mitzvah, so that also pater mikriyesh ma'alai. And my love the Torah the boy the mival. Now, what does it say? He's pater until Motzei Shabbos. Again, it's talking about what? Even though he's not being osik right now. That the Gemara Brachas says that he's not. The Gemara says that over there in Sukkah and Brachas that he's not. I think that he's not actually osik b'mitzvah mamish, but the fact that he's Torah, that's also enough reason to pater him. Even though he's not actually. The Gemara talks about b'shivtcha b'veisacha b'lachcha b'derech. What do you have to have 2 Sukkah for? The Gemara says this point.
The kasha would be here that Friday night is pater from Krishna.
Right. That's the kasha. Why should and it says Motzei Shabbos? That means
Friday night.
He's right. Friday night, even though he didn't yet succeed in making beer. But anyway, tonight he can't, and tonight's off. He's not going to try to make the beer. He's not Torah because he can't do the beer tonight. So he should be chayv in Kriya Shema. That's the Mosraya. Here it says again 4 nights, but it says Moshe Shabbos. Means he got married Wednesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Moshe Shabbos. But Friday night, since if you hold, he can't make a beer anyway, so there's nothing to be Torah about. He should say Kriya Shema. Amalei Abai lo, the Torah the lobo. He's not allowed to be bold, but he wasn't successful yet. Wednesday night, Thursday night, and now comes Friday night, and he wasn't successful yet. So he's bothered. He's bothered by the fact that he wasn't successful yet. It's not like other kind of a tirda. Till now, usually the tirda is that he has to be bold, and he's thinking about being bold because that's what he's supposed to do. But Abai says it could be Friday night. It's the opposite kind of a tirda. It's a tirda that he feels bad that he wasn't successful yet, and that's bothering him, and that's no reason to be potter from Kriya Shema. Rava jumps on that, says that's not a reason to be potter. Yes.
So, but he's not going to have any.
He's not. He's not. Rava's going to say he's not going to be able to. He has to wait till Motzei Shabbos.
But he's still Torah because he's not.
Because he wasn't able to do it yet. Since he wasn't successful, so he feels bad that he wasn't able to do it yet. That's on his mind that he wasn't successful yet. It's already 2 nights he missed. So he's torrid about that. That's enough reason to potter him. Rava's going to jump up and say that's not a reason to potter him, even though he feels bad. You know that's his business. But it's not a mitzvah.
Worried about the fact that in the future he still has.
But that's not. If right now he can't do it, there's nothing to be bothered now. Now it's time out. It's only if he could do it and he's involved in it, he's thinking how to do it, whatever, something's bothering him. But that's only when he's involved in doing something. But now we tell him for this 24 hours you can't do anything anyway. So say Kriya Shema. What? Daven, say Kriya Shema. Learn something. Go for a walk with your wife, whatever you want to do. But
I don't quite understand this because even on the first night, let's say he wasn't successful on the first night.
Yes.
So after he wasn't successful on the first night,
but he's still on. He's still on call. He's supposed to be being called. So that's a regular
so he's still
tier.
on call on Friday night too.
No. Friday night we tell him Friday night, on Wednesday, Thursday until Shabbos. So then he's told about I didn't do it and I have to do it. I still have to do it. Yeah, again, or the daytime also is not if you have a dark room. So he's told because he's supposed to do it, that he's involved. He's involved.
It's the future, it doesn't matter.
Future means now. I mean, if it's a future tomorrow and today you can't. So then,
tried and something didn't
so
work.
it's okay. So
why doesn't he say Kriya Shema then?
No, because he's still supposed to try to do it. As long as he can still do it, so go ahead. He's told it. That's a positive thing.
Friday night is
But Friday night we tell him, Friday night should be off because since Friday holds 24 hours of Shabbos, he's not allowed to be bold. So there's no reason to be Torah. Once of Shabbos, you get activated again, and then you should be Torah again because that's when he's on again. But now that he's off for Shabbos, there shouldn't be any Torah. So Abai says there's a tir than that also. There's a tir than the fact that he was not successful, even though there's nothing to do about it. The fact that he was not successful, he feels down. That's also a reason to be part of the Kriya Shema. But Rabbi argues with that. Amalei Rabbi Mishum Tir the Potter. Stop being preoccupied. That's reason to be Potter. If he had a big business loss, his ship sank. Also, he's very tired. He feels very bad. He lost $1 million. That's not a reason to be Potter. Maybe you'll say that he is Potter because he had a big business loss. He has what to be preoccupied about. A close relative died, but no, he's chayv all the mitzvahs. You don't say that he's torrid. There's an exception about tefillin. Plus, not tefillin should never been pair. There's one exception that a Abel doesn't wear tefillin on the first day of the death because that's called the glory. And when he's in Abel, he's not in the glorious state. That's a side point. But you see that Abel is chayiv. So tirda alone is not a reason to be potter. So too, if Friday night is off, that he can't be bold anyway. So there's no reason to potter him, even though he's bothered the fact that he wasn't successful. That's not. It's only going to be potter because he can do it now.
What happened with the tefillin?
That's in parentheses. That I have to put in parentheses a second.
Yeah, but what happened?
That person who's an Avel does not wear tefillin on the day of the death, even though he's chayv in all mitzvahs, because the
day of the death is considered Torah.
It's considered not because of tirda. He's not part of tefillin because he's Torah. He's part of tefillin because the tefillin and the day of the death don't go together. Tefillin is supposed to be a glory. It's a pe'er. And when a person is an Avel, he's not in a state of glory. It doesn't fit. The tefillin and the day of the death don't go together.
But other than that, there's no other exception to being
chayv in mitzvahs. And even though he's as a quantity of this, the relative died, he's very much preoccupied. That's not a reason to be potter because it's a rishus. There's no mitzvah. That's not the mitzvah to be Torah. That's a human condition, but it's not a mitzvah. So the mitzvah doesn't potter. So that doesn't potter him from mitzvahs. Also, if a mitzvah potter a mitzvah, but if he's just bothered because he has problems, we understand he has problems. He lost $1 million. He lost a relative. We understand, but it's not a reason to be potter from mitzvahs. So too, the fact that he was not successful is not a reason to be potter from Kriya Shema.
He didn't mention Anusa. Anusa is better from mitzvahs.
An onus?
Yeah.
And the onus is an onus. That's not, he can't, but that's not, they were not talking about the onus. If you can't say Kriya Shema because he's in a place where he can't, that's
No,
not
I
the
didn't
point.
mean that. I meant someone who didn't bury his dead yet.
And Onen.
Oh, name, yeah, I said.
Onen is also because Osik mitzvah mitzvahs because
It's
he's
called osek.
because he's engaged in
also-
burying the relative.
Okay,
Elam Arava. So we're back to the kasha again. What was of Yosef's kasha? That the chassan is part of Kriya Shema even Friday night. Why? That must be right. That he's allowed to be boiled. Abai tried to get out of it, but Rab's not happy. So Rab's going to say another teretz. The teretz says you're right. That this the Mishnah that says a chassan is part of Friday night really holds that you're allowed to be boiled on Friday night. And even though we said that we're asking on those who say that it's asa, we'll find other Tanoim. Elam Rabba Tanoi. I found a machlokes Tanoim about it. This issue, which till now we had Bryces that said you're not allowed to, and now we had two Bryces that said you're not allowed to be boiled Friday night, making a chabura. Another Bryce that said Friday night, let's say Shabbos. So we had Bryces till now that said that it's asa, and now Rabba found the Bryce that says that it's mutter. This Mishnah Taki says that it's mutter. This Mishnah said that the chassan part of Kriya Shema even on Friday night. And Enochanami, the Tanya Chadem lo asa ma'aser b'rishon pater af b'sheni pater af b'shlishi. The Tanya idach rishon v'sheni pater shlishi chayim. Here's talking about the nights of after marriage. So it says if he didn't have relations the first night, he's part Wednesday night. So he's part even on Thursday night. If he didn't have relations on Thursday night, he's part even on Friday night. Yeah, that's how it goes. 1, 2, and 3. The marriage was on Wednesday. So he said if he didn't have relations on Wednesday night, he's part even on Thursday night. If he didn't have relations on Thursday night, he's part even Friday night. Why? Because he could have relations. But another Bryce says that on the third night already is high. Why is it high? Why is it high on the third night? Because it happens to be Friday night. And this Bryce holds that he's not allowed to have relations on Friday night. So therefore, we should say Kriya Shema. So it comes out of Machlokes Tanoim. Is the chassan and is he allowed to have relations the first time on Friday night? Here it says Machlokes if he's having Kriya Shema or not. And Rabbi is saying that's what Mamash and Machlokes were talking about. That is he allowed to be boiled on Friday night? If he's allowed to, but from Kriya Shema. If he's not allowed to, say he's having Kriya Shema. Abai says he's not. Abai is still not giving in. Abai said Machlokes was if he cannot, if he was not successful, even though he cannot have relations now, he's still Torah because he feels bad. Rabbi has the kasha on him, there's no such Torah. But Abai didn't give in yet. Abai says that machlokes also might be that everyone holds that he's not allowed to have relations, but the fact that he feels bad that he didn't, is that enough reason to pater him or not? Maybe that's what they're arguing about, so Abai doesn't give in. Anyway, the Gemara continues with Rabbi, we pass like Rabbi, that the fact that he feels bad, stam, that doesn't have anything to do with the mitzvah, even though it's a result of the mitzvah. Rashi says that Abai says that since it's a result of the mitzvah that he didn't do the mitzvah, that's also a reason to be pater. But Rabbi doesn't hold like that. We don't hold like that. That the fact that he didn't succeed in doing the mitzvah is not a reason to be pater. So what we found the Machlokes Tanoim, and we're happy with that. Machlokes Tanoim, if you're allowed to be bold the first time on Shabbos, and here the application is he chayv Kriya Shema or not? If he can't have relations on Friday night, so then he should be chayv Kriya Shema. And now we find another machlokes. This is beferish. Hani tanoi, kani tanoi. That these machlokes Tanoim we just found about if you allowed to say Kriya Shema, if you have to say Kriya Shema or not, is the machlokes we find beferish. And this issue, mamash here we have beferish of Bryce. Abai is going to also agree. Hakonis is absula yibol b'tchila b'Shabbos v'chachamim matir. And here it is. Maybe we should highlight that. Machlokes beferish. Oh, what happened over here? Let's get something over here. Hakonis is absula b'tchila b'Shabbos is as if the first time you're allowed to have relations, Friday night. So Tanakama says not, and Chacham say yes. And now the Gemara says, Man Chacham, we really had this already before, that wise reasons why it should be mutter. We said all kinds of problems, that there's blood, and there's a Pesach, all kinds of reasons why it should be yasser. So the Gemara said already, the reason is because Dav Shem is coming. Even though he's making a Pesach, even though he's bringing out the blood, but he could say, like the Gemara said, his intention is just have relations, and he's not interested in the Pesach and the Dam. Even though it's happening, it's still mutter. Dav Shem is coming. The Gemara didn't ask the kasha before. Rashi told us that it has to be not obsecration. So Rashi told us a page ago, yesterday we said it, that it's not obsecration. Here Rashi got it from this Gemara. Mother of Shem Rav Shimon shouldn't be matter, even though it's Dav Shem is Kavin, but it's definitely going to happen. The Pesach is definitely going to happen, and the blood is definitely going to come out. Just because your Dav Shem is Kavin is mutter, it's not enough reason to be matter, because here it's definitely going to happen. As the expression goes, cut off his head, then he's not going to die. If you cut off his head, it's going to die. Here too, if you make a bia, it's going to bring the blood. It's going to make a Pesach. So Rav Shimon shouldn't be matter. Amalei lo kalalu bavli shem b'kiyin bataya. Not like these Babylonians that they don't know how to make a bia without
He says it's not secretion.
He says, the answer is not secretion. It is possible to make a bia in a way that it's not necessarily going to bring out the blood. It's not necessarily going to make a pesach, and that's called hatoya. Hatoya means like at a inclination, to be inclined, like it's at an angle. He makes it be at a certain angle that it's not necessarily going to break the hymen. The Babylonians don't know how to do it, but the other people do know how to do it. Most people, like most say, so that most people know how to do it, and therefore it's not obsecration. Could be, not necessarily, but it could be that he makes a beer, and that doesn't mean he does make a full beer. Of course, he doesn't. If it doesn't penetrate all the way, sure he's not. But that's not called a taya. Taya means he can make. It's possible to make it a certain angle that he will go through the hymen and it still won't break it. So therefore, it's not obsecration. There's a kasha over here, and a kasha answer that I don't understand so well. I'll just say, in Kain Torah Lama. If so why is he Torud? Well, the tirda is always that he thinks, what's the tirda? That he might make a bia and he's not going to find blood. He's worried that maybe his wife, his kala, who's supposed to be a virgin, maybe she's not a virgin. He's going to make a bia, he's going to find out that she's not a virgin. He's really not sure about that. And that's why he's nervous. But if it's possible to make a bia, and he knows that the bia that he's doing is not necessarily going to bring out the blood, so even though it doesn't bring out the blood, it doesn't show that she's not a virgin. So why is he nervous? The tirda is, it doesn't say in the Gemara till now, what is the tirda all about? What is the nervousness about? What's he told that she might not be a basula? He's worried before he makes the first bia, maybe he's going to find out that she's not a basula. And then it's going to be problems. He's going to find out that the wife that he thought was a virgin is not real. So here the Gemara is saying that when he makes the bia, he knows that it might not bring blood, even if she is a virgin. So what's he worried about? Even if it's not going to be blood, it doesn't mean she's not a virgin. The answer is l'she'en baki. Anachnami, the person who's a baki, so he's not nervous. The person who's not a baki, he's the person who's nervous. The problem with this Gemara is that if he's not a baki, then we're going to say he's not allowed to be boil on Shabbos. Then the Gemara seems to contradict itself in the words itself. If he's not a baki, so then it should be also for him to make relations on Shabbos because it's obsecration. And if he is a baki, so then there shouldn't be any tirda because he's not scared not having blood. So this kasha and teres, I don't have a good shot. I just noticed that they talk about it and they asked to say maybe a different shot. The way it is, I just put in parentheses just to block it out that this is needs more explanation. But the Gemara continues that you're saying the reason why it's mutter is because yesh b'ki and bataya. So the question was yomu baki mutter shena baki yaser. How could they just say that it's mutter to be ball on Shabbos? If it's only mutter because not obsecration, they should have specified that a baki is mutter to have. Baki means a person who knows how to make this inclined penetration. He's mutter because not obsecration, but a person for babli, let's say, that's not allowed to. Why doesn't the Brisa or the Mishnah specify that it's only mutter for someone who's not obsecration? The answer is robaki in him. Most people do know how to do it. Only the Babliim didn't know how to do it. But the most people, you could say as a standard, most people do have that ability to make the angle in a way that's not obsecration.
It doesn't mean just Jews.
No, doesn't talk about Jews. Doesn't say a difference of Jews or not. I don't know. I don't understand how it's Babliim. Maybe they were more aggressive, gross, and they didn't do it in a way that's adin. They didn't do it in a.
It didn't mean that the whole world was not.
He said right here. He says that the most of the world is not like the Babli. The Babli are the exception. The Gemara continues. It used to be a custom that when they had the first relations, the husband, the bride, and the groom, so they had friends. That means that what does it mean? The friend, not the friends. What do you call the shishvinim? The word shishvin means a friend, but the point is the ones who are accompanying the bride and the groom, it means the parents or it means the good. So they would stand outside of the time when they had the first relations, and they would be able to testify after the woman, after they had the bia, and the woman, the bride, there was blood. So they would take that as a testimony that she's a psula.
What's
Means
the
lama, this shishvina lama. Why do you have the shishvina? And why do you have the mapa? The mapa is a cloth, and that's the pasuk also talks about it. The person who has the that if the girl is a basula, so they wanted to have testimony that she's a basula, and they would take the cloth that was stained with the blood after the first bia. They had a cloth under them, and when they would have the first bia, so they would get stained with blood, and that would be kept as a testimony that she's a basula. So if you say that, and first of all, thinks that it's also used to what's the word? Not to attack as much as to the opposite of affirm, the opposite of affirm, the opposite accused. The accused, good. That would be also an accusation that if she doesn't have Sulim, so then you're not a virgin. But now you're saying that it's possible to make a beer without blood. So just because
asking, why do we have
why do we have this whole system that it wouldn't happen nowadays, but in those days, it seems that was the custom that they would wait for the testimony of the blood. And it sounds like if they didn't bring it, then she's accused that you're not a virgin. And I was saying that there's no big deal that she didn't have blood because most people, they know how to make a bia in a way that is not necessarily blood. So it's not an accusation. The Gemara answers on the contrary. On the contrary, over there they want for the protection. It's coming to confirm if there is blood. So then they have a testimony that she's a virgin, and then the husband shouldn't come later with complaints because we have testimony that she's a virgin.
That
it's going to be lost. Maybe there is going to be blood, then it's going to get lost. It means if there was blood on the cloth, so then the bride's family wants to keep it because they want to have testimony that she's a basula. If the husband's going to come with complaints that she's not a basula, they're going to say, no, it's not true because after the first cohabitation, there was blood. So, and that's even how the pasuk also seems to present the case of Moshe Shemra, that he says she's not a basula, and the father and the mother come with the cloth, and they say, here it is. So the point is not to accuse her, the point is to protect her. But anytime, if she doesn't have blood, it's not a kasha on her. It could be next time you'll have blood. So that was all. This was the Rav Yosef's kasha. That's to zoom out a little bit. We had.
Isn't that the only problem would be on Shabbos?
No, what do you mean to say? No, there could be. If
What if you make blood on Wednesday night? What's the problem?
If he doesn't, if there's no blood Wednesday night also, there's no accusation against the bride because maybe he did it in a way of ataya. If most people could do an ataya, so sometimes it's gonna happen. No, it won't happen that way. You can't have complaints against the kala. Next time there'll be do it in a better way. So just to zoom out a little bit, we had a kasha from a chista that wanted to prove that it's mutter to have relations on Shabbos because it says over there, Avon soy Shabbos Avolelos, and over there, Rabbi gave in that the first time that once there was a beer one time, so then the rest of it is just going through the tight squeeze. That's mutter but it's already opened already. But I wouldn't be a ride that's opened mutter the first time. Rav Yosef was successful, according to Rabbi, to bring a ride that's mutter the first time because the chassan's potter even Friday night from Kriyashma, and he says you're right, it's a good proof. But he did find machlokes tanam. Some say mutter, some say yaser about Kriyashma, and the Gemara comes here to explain that the one who says it's mutter is Rav Shimon who holds Tav Shem Eskavan is mutter, and it's not obsecration because some people could do hataya, or most people could do hataya. The Gemara continues on the bottom with a third raya. Maser Rabami. It's talking about bursting a boil, a pimple, a pus. So it says if somebody opens up mefis, I don't know the exact translation. I guess it means to burst open. Rashi says hapaseach pe nefach. If he opens up some kind of a blister, so and the pus comes out. If anybody wants the air conditioner, everybody's welcome. Whatever's good for everybody to make it more climate friendly.
Thank you.
If someone opens up a blister on Shabbos, if his purpose is in order to make an entrance because he wants to take out, he wants to put in medicine, he wants it to be an entrance way, so then it's high because he made a Pesach on Shabbos. If his purpose is only to get out the pus, then he's pater. And the Gemara, and it doesn't say it's Rashi even points out that it's mutter, also pater or mutter because it's tsar. But anyway, the Gemara's kasha is the Gemara's comparing the pus to blood. If you say that pus is mutter to take out, so then the blood also is mutter. What's the difference between the pus and the blood? That's the Gemara's comparison. So the Gemara wants to bring a raya that it's mutter. You see that you're allowed to take out pus, so you're allowed to take out blood also. What's the difference? The Gemara says no, there's a difference. That the pus is not connected at all to the regular system of the blood. The pus is not blood, so therefore the pus is contained inside the blister, and you're allowed to take it out. It didn't affect the blood. It's not called netilas neshama. But over here, even the Gemara here could have said michpa. Yesterday, the Gemara had its side to say that it's connected. Here, the Gemara explains a little bit that even according to that side, it's not mamish part of the regular system. You do see a pocket of blood by the hymen, but the point is that it's still somewhat connected. It's not completely disconnected, and the blood could be worse than the pus. So the Gemara wanted to be a ride that is mutter, and the Gemara then all three. Raya so far, Rav Chisda, Rav Yosef, Rav Ami, all of them brought a raya that is mutter. The first one we said is not a raya because it could be that it's ready after the first time, so it's only squeezing through the Pesach, but it's already a Pesach already. Second raya, Rabbi tried to get out of it, but Rabbi didn't agree. He said that it is a good raya that is mutter. We find the machlokes tanon, and this halacha about pus. The Gemara wanted to be raya also that is mutter. The Gemara says not a comparison. Pus could be more mutter. Now the Gemara is going to go. The rest of the page is going to bring different opinions that said that it's mutter or usher, and at the end we're going to come up with halacha soon. Here it says, don't forget that there's a brisa that says various that it's asa, two brises. The Gemara brought a raya from Rav Yosef, from Kriyashma that it's mutter, and Rav agreed to that. But here the Gemara goes now with the Amoram. What do? The Bami says you're allowed to be born for the first time on Shabbos. The Gemara is a side point, a side problem over there. That particular case where Bami was matir, so the ksuba wasn't written yet. And that's a question that you're not allowed to have relations without a ksuba. anything to do. It's ready Shabbos, can make a ksuba now. Amalu atvasul metalton. So he said, so make her be mezaka to her some property that she should have for the ksuba. So that's enough. And then you can write the shtar afterwards. But now for Shabbos, give her, designate some property that should be designated to her ksuba. That's good enough. But that was the side point. The Gemara continues. I had a lot of people on Shabbos. Rav Zvid also was matter to have relations the first time on Shabbos. Others say not that he said that it's mutter, but he actually himself, when he was married, so he was bold the first time on Shabbos. He even did an act on his own, not only the paskin, he held that it's mutter. Rav Yehuda permitted it on not yantif. There was a question came up over there on yantif, and he said that it's mutter. Now the Gemara goes into a side point about Rav Yehuda. The last one, we'll just zoom out a second to see how far this is going to go. That there's going to be about 20 lines. The Gemara's going to talk about, is it dafka yantif or even Shabbos also? Is there any reason why yantif should be more lenient than Shabbos? There be a mechlokes between our papi and our papa in the name of Rava. Amar papi mishmei the Rava lo teim b'yantif shari who b'Shabbos asa. Don't explain that the yantif that if you the only is making on yantif, but Shabbos you would have held that as asa. There's no difference yantif and Shabbos. Do it then afilu b'Shabbos. He would hold Shabbos also. It happened to be that case that they asked him was yantif, but he would have been matir on Shabbos also. No different Shabbos and yantif. If it's mutar and yantif, it's mutar and Shabbos. But our papa mishmei the Rava Amar no, but yantif shari, but Shabbos asa. Only on yantif is a mutar Shabbos you would have held that as asa. And the rest of the Gemara goes to explain what should be the difference. Why should yantif be more lenient than Shabbos? Why should the yantif be more lenient than Shabbos? If Shabbos is asa, yantif should be asa. The only thing you can say is called mitoch. Mitoch means that if there's some kind of a malacha that's mutter and yantif for some reason, then it's going to be mutter even for a different reason. If you find that for ochel nefesh you're allowed a shecht, so making a chabura, making a wound is mutter and yantif for ochel nefesh, so then it's mutter even not for ochel nefesh. That's the reason why you're going to say it's mutter. You're making a wound, and you're going to say that since you mutter to make a chabura, to make a wound, so it's mutter even shalom l'tzarech ochel nefesh. If that's true, how far are you going to take that kind of mitoch? Are you going to say that since you're allowed to make fire on yantif in order to cook, so you're allowed to also make burn incense in order to make a fragrance, and that you agree not allowed to do? You don't just say mitoch, whatever's mutter sometimes for ochel nefesh, you're allowed to do even not for ochel nefesh. The pasuk says that only which is mutter for everybody, l'chol nefesh. So it's true, it doesn't have to be for food, but it has to be l'chol nefesh. It has to be something that everybody does. Only if it's used for everybody. More incense wasn't used. That's like a special thing. That's a
for rich people.
Rich people say something like that. That it's not usual. People, not everybody, not only rich people, not everybody wants it. Not everybody wants incense. So fragrance. So therefore, that's not a reason. That's why it's us. Really, you do say mitoch. And mitoch is a good svara, and if it's mutter l'tzarech ochel nefesh, it's mutter even shalom l'tzarech ochel nefesh. But it does have to be davar shavu l'chol nefesh. It has to be something everybody uses. If you say it has to be something which is mutter for everybody, are you going to say that somebody got a deer? Deer is very expensive to get a deer. I guess the reason is because it's not domestic. It's wild. You have to catch it. You can't just hunt it also, because the hunters, they just shoot it. But the Jews can't shoot it. If you shoot it, it's going to be in a vela. So it's not easy to get a deer. You have to catch a deer without killing it and then to shecht it. So most people didn't have a deer. So you're going to say if somebody got a deer, it's not shavu l'chol nefesh. It's only for rich people. That shavu l'chol nefesh doesn't mean that it has to be mamash, everybody has access to it. It could be that's only for rich people. So rich, the Gemara doesn't distinguish that if you are poor, that's not a reason that's not called shavu l'chol nefesh. Everybody would like deer meat. They can't afford it. But if they have it, everyone likes it. But if there's something that not everybody would take, even if they could afford it, that's like the mugmar, that the incense, not everybody takes it.
So it's not that the mugmar is not because they're rich, it's because
Right.
they
This points out that not everybody does it the first time, not the particular way that he's being done now. It's not, a chassan is not to rug with everybody, but that's machlokus if it's called shavu l'chol nefesh. The Gemara continues with the machlokus, are you allowed to be involved for the first time on Shabbos? Amar Yaakov Aridi, However, Rabbi Yochanan b'tzai them, asa level b'tchil b'Shabbos. Rabbi Yochanan passing that it's asa. Till now we had a couple of matirin, Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Zvid, but now it says that Rabbi Yochanan said that it's asa, and like those that said that it's asa. We said that those that hold that it's asa. The Gemara just has a side point over here for about six lines, that the word hora The Gemara thinks only applies when you're saying something's mutter. If you say something's usher, you don't use the word hora. Rashi says because it's easy to say usher, everything's usher until proven mutter. So to say something is usher, the Gemara thought it doesn't apply the term called hora. Hora would have only been by a heter. That's the Gemara's kasha mika hara. If you ever say the word hara when you want to say that it's usher, the Gemara thinks hara is only when you say it's mutter. Yeah, not a problem. You do find the term of hara even by Issa, as we brought Latanan, as we showed in the Mishnah. So some question over there about someone accepted upon the Naziris for 7 years, and the question was if it was good Naziris or not, and Hill said that they have to do it another 7 years. So you see that the word Hora applies even for Isser also. Another writer said that the word Hora means Isser. How much of the spinal cord to be broken is going to make the animal a treifa. So Rebbe says to Rebbe, only if most of it is severed. Rabbi Yaakov Omer afilu nikib, even a little hole also is enough to be considered severed, and it's a treifa. So that's a chumrah. Rabbi Yaakov is more machmer than Rebbe. Hore
is just a little hole.
Right. Hore Rebbe Yaakov. Rebbe Hore like Rabbi Yaakov, and here he's saying that he's machmer. Rabbi Yaakov is always machmer. So you see hara the Isser will. So you see that the word hara doesn't only mean for heter, it also means for Issa. The first raya was from Beis Hillel, that Horu, to say that she has to be a Nazir again. And the second raya is from the Rebbe Hora, like Rabbi Yaakov, that said that it's a treifa, even he held that it's mutter, but he paskin Issa like Rabbi Yaakov, you see, it says the word Hora. Agav, Amrav Nehuna, and Lochak Rabbi Yaakov. You don't pass like Rabbi Yaakov, even Rabbi did. You don't pass like Rabbi Yaakov, that it doesn't make it a treifa if the Chut HaShedra was only a niked, only if it would be nifsak removal. But that was a side point, just to use the word Hora. That was a side, mamash a side point. Rabbi Yochanan knows that it's also to be boiled on Shabbos for the first time. Last number line. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Masni Hachi. Rav Nachman says a little different version about Rabbi Yochanan's psak in Zaydan. Here it says Om Rabbi Bo Shol Rabbi Shmuel ben Yaakov the Mitzor as Rabbi Yochanan b'Zaydan V'Ano Shami Ma'olevil b'Tchil b'Shabbos Amalei Aser. Also the same thing. Rabbi Yochanan said that it's Aser, but that's the way it was quoted before. It said that Rabbi Yaakov Baridi said. Or Rabbi Yochanan here says a little bit different of a story, a little bit more details. That Shmuel ben Yaakov from Tzor, he asked Rabbi Yochanan in Sidon, and he said that it's Asa. So Rabbi Yochanan in both versions said that it's Asa to be boiled for the first time on Shabbos. And then ends off the whole sugya. We had a daf and a half. And that's what Moshe said in the beginning of the sugya, that it is mutter to be boiled the first time. And what does that mean?
You can do it without breaking it.
So that the Gemara does say that it's only because it's not psik ratio. If it's a psik ratio, then it should not be mutter. And the problem is that we don't know how to do it, and it is mutter also. So the poskim, they say it might be mutter because we said once I'm going to have something in my notes over here about that, but they say it's mutter even if we don't know how to do it. Then maybe we hold mekalkal as potter, because the more had another way how to say that it should be mutter. Besides, even if it helps Dav Shem Skavan as Asa, or call it up sekresha, but mekalkal b'chabur is mutter maybe. So that's mekalkal. That might be another reason why it should be mekel. We have mekalkel. Mekalkel means that he's doing a kilkel. He's not tikkun. We had that yesterday just to get we had yesterday. Right. It's not a tikkun. Right. Tikkun. That was the Gemara yesterday. The Gemara had studied. So here it could be that even though the Gemara is going now, Dav Shem Miskavan Psikresha will be Asa, but the Gemara yesterday had a tzad. Even if you hold that Dav Shem Miskavan is Asa, or call it up Psikresha, it'll still be a mutter because maybe it's only kilkel. The blood is a kilkel. The Pesach is a kilkel. That even though that's not a heter, Dav Shem Miskavan wouldn't be a heter maybe because Psikresha. Or Dav Shem Miskavan is Asa, it still might be mutter because it's considered a kilkel. So the Pesach is considered a kilkel because it's not a basul anymore, and the Dam is considered a kilkel. So Mekalkel and Mekalkel B'Chabura still might be putter. So that might be a reason why Allah says mutter to be boiled, even if he doesn't do it in a way that it might be toya, might be with angle. So in the Allah says it's mutter to be boiled the first time on Shabbos, and even if it is a psikration, the poskim seem to say.
It was a big minhag to have weddings on Friday the day, wasn't it?
Later in the poskim times, in the Gemara time, you're saying point, very nice. According to the custom that they made it on Friday, so then it's going to come out that they're going and then they're going to have the relations the first time on the Friday night. Yeah, that's what comes out. That's true. That's true. New sugya, namish whole new sugya. We have time for Hashem. We can go further. Third white line. A new sugya, nothing going into the issue of Sheva brachos and things like that. Third white line. Amr Abchel Amr Abun Amr Abba Bazav Amr Rav. Achas Besulav, Achas Almana, Te'una Bracha. So the bracha means what we call Sheva brachos. And what if she's almana? She's already not the first time married. They also have Sheva brachas. So Rav Huna, Rav Chelbo, Rav Huna, the name of Rav Zabda, the name of Rav, said that no difference of basula or an almana, tuna bracha. You do what we call Sheva brachas. Me, Rav Huna, for Sheva brachas, that's the little. We call Sheva brachas 7 days. Sheva brachas doesn't mean 7 days. Sheva brachas means seven blessings. We're going to see also sometimes only the last bracha, Shabbat, Sasim, B'Simcha. Sometimes that's the only bracha we talk about. But it means there's a bracha called Brechas Nesuin. So even if she's an
Even
almana,
the almana gets the seven.
gets the
We're
bracha.
talking
Right.
about the suit of after the wedding.
Or it means we'll see soon, maybe all 7 days.
Okay.
But the bracha means the bracha Brechas Nesuin.
So that's really at the wedding.
They do it at the wedding. They do it by the Shev. They do it by the Sudas for
We're saying
the
at the chuppah.
at the chuppah also. Sarah says that almana also.
Say anywhere that after the wedding that.
Yeah, it's going to be also again. It's going to be also again. So Rav Huna said in the name of Rav, yes, that even almana has a bracha. Rav Huna, did Rav Huna say that? Contradiction of Rav Huna. Rav Huna, almana ain't a tuna bracha. Rav Huna is quoted as saying that almana doesn't get a bracha. No bracha. Lo kasha. Kan b'bracha shenas almana, kan b'alman shenas almana. He only meant if both of them are second time around. If the husband, if the groom, if the chassan is a bachor, means it's for the first time, then there's a bracha. That's the first one. When it says almana tuna bracha, she's an almana, but he's for the first time. His first marriage, her second marriage. So that's why he needs a bracha. But if both of them would be the second time, alma shenas almana, so then there's no bracha. But there was a kasha on that also. Alma shenas almana lo. If both of them are second time, so then there's no bracha. Rav Nachman Amali Huna Bar Nasan Tana. We learned in the Brisa. Minayin the brechas chasanim b'asar. How do you know that brechas chasanim is supposed to have 10 people? Shenema. This is by Boaz. When Boaz was marrying Rus. And that's where it says that he got 10 people, and the one was out from there that there was the Sheva brachas. So we're going to see soon where the brachas over there. I think the more on the basis is going to say. But anyway, what do you see? This is the whole source of brachas chasanim 10 people, and over there, who was getting married? Boaz and Rus. Both of them were second time around. Well, Boaz. This is the pasuk. Boaz took 10 people and he told them sit down, and they sat down. And then over there, Boaz over there, Boaz and Rus, both of them were second time around. Rus surely, because her husband Machlana died. That was the favorish. Boaz it doesn't say, but the Medrash says, Rashi brings down, the Medrash says that Boaz is son, and he had already 30 sons, 30 daughters. He had a lot. So both of them second time around. Yeah, and the pasuk doesn't say, but the Medrash says that it's Ibson. If it's Ibson, then it's an old man. So anyway, he was both of them almanas according to that, and still you say over there, that's what you learn now to hold in about Birchas Chasanim. So, and you're saying there's no bracha if both of them are almanos. The answer is my ena tuna bracha dam Rav Huna, ena tuna bracha called Zion. Tuna bracha. Before, when Rav Huna said there's no bracha, he meant there's no bracha for all 7 days. Usually, if one of them is the first time around, either one of them, the kala or the chassan is the first time around, so then there's bracha all 7 days. But if both of them are second time around, so then there's only bracha the first day. Not only by the chuppah, but even the suda that they have on the first day. So then there is a bracha. We'll see which brachas. I think the more we'll talk maybe later on. Does it mean all 7 brachas? So does it mean only Ashabara, the last one sometimes? But there's a bracha. Okay.
Nowadays, is it 3 days for
That's the more comes down now. The more is about 3 days. We had this yesterday, that there's a Shaktu Chacham. We had Shaktu Chachamim to prepare the meal for 3 days. We also had a Shaktu Chacham that Almana should also have Simcha for 3 days. Yesterday I thought it means that even though they didn't make it to Kana for 3 days, but they orchestrated it that she should have get married on Thursday, and then Thursday, Friday, they have the Bia, and then Shabbos 3 days in a row. But this Gemara seems to say that it's a Takana. They're supposed to have 3 days of Simcha. And the Gemara is assuming that the Simcha and the Bracha go together. So the Gemara is asking, now you're saying there's either 1 or 7. What do you say? That if there's an almana, but it says that either if the chassan is the first time around, then there's 7, and if both of them, so then there's 1. How do you get 3? That's the most kasha. But what's the case that you have 3? There's no case of 3. It's either 1 or 7. The Gemara answers, the Gemara going to answer that Simcha and Bracha is 2 different things. That Simcha is 3, and the Bracha is either 1 or 7. Don't put the Simcha together with the Bracha. You can say that both of them are second time around. Yom Echad the Bracha, Shlosh Shel Simcha. And it's for Shiva, Shiva the Bracha, Shlosh Shel Simcha. It's not a contradiction. We thought in the kasha that Simcha and Bracha go together. The answer is it doesn't. Simcha is 3, and the bracha is either going to be 1 or 7.
What do you mean simcha?
Simcha means that they're supposed to be rejoicing together. They don't go to work. They celebrate for 3 days, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you say a bracha. And it could be you're saying a bracha more than the simcha. The simcha is only 3 days, but it could be that if they would be saying brachas hamazon, it could be that they would say the Sheva brachas, or at least one bracha of Asher Bara, even more than the days that they're also b'simcha. So here the Gemara seems to say that how do we sum it up so far? That either one, the simcha by the simcha, if the kala is a basula, if the kala is the first time around, so then surely there's going to be simcha and 7 days and bracha for 7 days. If there's a bachor, if he's the first time around, so here the Gemara says also, even though she's an almana, so also there's 7 days for bracha. I think as far as simcha, that's a question in the Rishona maybe. If both of them are second time around, so here the Gemara says that there's going to be simcha for 3 days and the bracha only for 1 day. The Mazakasha, Meisvei, Amad Beis. Here the Brisa says that the Basula has a bracha 7 days and the Almana has 1 day. What's the kasha? What would you say about this Brisa? It says the Almana gets 1 day. So we would say if the,
because we said an almana if it's a bachor.
Right, but you could say the Brisa talking about that. He's also second time. But the more thought, my love appeal Almana she says the bracha. If the Brisa doesn't distinguish, it says depends on the wife. So if she's Almana, it says only 1 day, even if the husband is also a bachor. No, like Moshe said, la'almon, only if both of them are second time around, then it's going to be 1. But the more is bothered if that's true, that if the husband will be the husband is a bachor, so then it should be 7 days. So it should have said so. It shouldn't just say a basula 7, almana 1. It should say it depends. Yachi, listening, it should have said like this: the basula shiva. If the kala is a basula, then always the 7 days. Well, almana, it depends. Mana says the bachor is also shiva. Well, almana yom echad. Why doesn't it say that? It should have been explicit that if the husband is a bachor, says also 7. Only if both of them are second time around is in 1 day. So the Gemara says no problem. Notes the psikta katani wanted to say something that's clear. The leka basula the batzor meshiva, the leka almana the batzor yom echad. The minimum for a basula is always going to be 7 days. The minimum for almana is 1 day. It could be sometimes the one will have 7 days if the husband is a bachor. But it didn't have to say, it didn't say all the cases, it just said the minimum. So the Gemara is happy the way we said that if either the chassan or the kala is the first time around, then there's bracha for 7 days. If both of them are second time around, then there's bracha only for 1 day. Psikta means like a psak or something. Not psak as much as it could be. It's right. It's like across the board that it's a straight thing. That it's cut. It's clear cut. Maybe that's something that's something we would say that it's applies in all situations that there's no psula that doesn't have 7. There's no almana that doesn't have at least 1. But it is sometimes that almana also will have 7 if the husband is okay. Now the Gemara goes on Magadata. How do you know this halacha about Berchas Chasan is supposed to have 10 people? Means if you don't have 10 people, you don't say Berchas Chasan. Gufa, Amr of Nachman Amalihun about Nasan Tanam and the Berchas Chasan about Sorah. This we had already before in Aleph. How do you know you have to have 10 people? Shenema, what? But Boaz, Liga Chasan and Hashem is Iknei Ayah by Yom Shvupo and by Yeshevu. Here leaves out that word. But they sat down. I don't see. I don't see how you see that has to do with the bracha. That they say a bracha over there. Okay, it doesn't say. How do you know that it means? Okay, I don't see the remez that it's talking about a bracha over there. But that's the reason why I brought 10 people. That's the first
Why
rush.
else would you need 10 people?
Oh, why else would you need? Maybe that's the point. Okay.
The question is why do you need 10?
Where do you have a source?
Where do we have a source that has to be 10?
This is the source because by Boaz and Rus, he took 10 people. What for? For Birchas Chasan. Rabbi Avo Amamelcha a different drasha. The Makelas Bocha Elokim Hashem Im Kol Yisrael. In gatherings, bless God, Hashem, from the source of Yisrael, Makor Yisrael. So the more is darshaning a drash that Makor means the womb, the source. What's the source? The Makor is called the womb. And that means when something about the womb means getting married. So there should be a bracha, bless God. Makelos means 10. Akihila means 10. So that's the second drasha. 2 drashas to say you have to have Birchas Chasanim. One is from Boaz and one is from this pasuk in Tehillim. Rav Nachman, B'hai Kvod Rabavo, my Davish Bey. The first drasha, Rav Nachman, what does he do with the second drasha, Rav Avo? What's the condition for this pasuk? How do you know that by Kriyas Yamsuf, even the fetus inside his mother's womb, they also said Shiva? Not only the people that were born, even those that were not yet born, they also said Shiva. Hashem Kol Yisrael means even those that were in the womb. even those in the womb also Baruch Elokim. Not only the people, the Makelos, the gatherings of people like Kriyas Yamsuf, even the ones that are in the womb, the Idach. And the other one also agrees to that Russia, that it's telling you that even the fetus in the womb also said Russia, said Shira. How do you know to learn out that there's Birchas Chasanim by marriage? The fact that it says the word Mokor instead of Beten, that's also a leaning, a hint to a nuance to say that we're also dashing another drush also that there's Birchas Chasanim with 10 people. Rabbi Avo, high brother of Nachman Maidovish Bey, what's Rabbi Avo going to do with the pasuk about Boaz that he had 10 people? Doesn't this extra pasuk? Over there, he's coming to say halacha that it's mutter to marry an Ammonis and a Moabis. Rus was a Moabiyah, and we know that Lo Yava Ammoni B'Kal Hashem. So it's a big chiddush that you're allowed to marry. Boaz was allowed to marry Rus. So they wanted to say this halacha that it's mutter to marry a Moabis. Because what do you have to have zakenim for? But it says you take 10 zakenim. What do you have to have zakenim? You just have to have 10 people. If you just wanted to make the bracha as chasanim, like you said before, the raya was because you had 10 people, but you only 10 zakenim. Must be 10 zakenim is because those were the elders and they make up sak now that you're allowed to marry a Moabis. But the one is asking if that would be the pshat that he wanted to say this halacha that it's worth it to marry a Moabis, so you have to have 10. You don't have to have 10 people for that. Just say halacha. There's a zakenim should say you don't have to have 10 people. The Gemara says yes, you have to publicize it in the presuming will, so they have to do it in order to publicize this new halacha. As we find that they used to publicize a new halacha in front of 10 people. Shmuel told Rav Chana from Baghdad, I think. Over there, Shmuel wanted to publicize halacha, so he told him, bring 10 people that I should be able to announce the halacha. This particular halacha is not relevant to us at all now, but that was the case he wanted to tell him. He wanted to be mechadash halacha, so he said, bring 10 people that I could tell them, announce this halacha. If your someone's mazake, he makes a kinyan to an unborn fetus, there's a kinyan. We happen to pass on like that. We can put in parentheses. That's not a subject at all. That you can't make a kinyan to a Uber. He held you could, and when he wanted to say he could, so then he publicized it with 10 people. So that would be the pshat. The reason why Boaz brought 10 people is because he wanted to publicize the halacha that it's mutter to marry a Moavis.
What's this last halacha?
Amzakal over?
Yeah.
Can you make a kinyan to a fetus that's not yet born?
Can you make a kinyan to a fetus that is not yet born?
So you can't give it in his hand, but you can give it to somebody else. Bizocha put it over.
Yes.
Shmuel said yes, and then parentheses. Just put that in parentheses.
Yeah.
We have the pasuk not. That's not the sub. That's we hold not. The more continues a little bit more, and that's called Tana Rabbanan. Mevachin Berachas Chasanim bebeis Chasanim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Ape beis Erisin mevachin osa. When do you say Berachas Chasanim? So far we're talking about the Suan the whole time. How about Erisin? As we know, Erisin is a year earlier. So do you make a Berachas Chasanim by the Erisin? Tana Kama says no. The beis Chasanim. Beis Chasanim means by the Chasan's house. By the Erisin is by the father's house. And then she stays for a year, and then they make the chasana, and they come to the chasan's house. Nowadays, the wedding hall is an invention. They used to go to the chasan's house. That's what a wedding is. She's coming into his home. So when they make berachas chasanim? By the nesuin. Rabbi Yehuda says even by the erisin. Amar Abaya over Yehuda Shanu. Abaya explains when does Rabbi Yehuda say you make berachas erisin, you make a chasan, you make berachas chasanim even by the erisin? That's only in Yehuda. Why is Yehuda? Yehuda means the Yehuda and Galo. It means the south of Eretz Israel is called Yehuda. The north is called Galo. Why is Yehuda different? Because they used to make Yichud, even though it's only Erison, and really they're not supposed to be together with each other for another year. But in Yehuda, they used to have a custom in order they should get to know each other. They shouldn't feel so estranged that they never were together. So they made them comfortable, and they would have Yichud. And it might be that they also would have relations also during that Yichud. So they made it official. They made it. We'll even make Shabbat Brachos also already, which means that Taisha says the reason why they did it is because it's like officially you can get married. And they made and they could, if they wanted, they could have relations, but they weren't ready to get married, mamish. So that took another year. But they made well, there was Erisin, right? And they're just making the kedusha, and then they also used to say Shabbat Brachos, and made it's like a small unofficial wedding, and they're really married. And if they wanted, they could have relations also, and sometimes they did. And that's why, and that's when Yehuda was different because they made a small nisuin until later on, a year later, they made the actual whole going into the husband's house, and that was the real berachas nisuin. Then they made berachas nisuin again. But in the Yehuda, they used to do it by erisin already because they would have yichud, and they should be mutter to have relations if they wanted to. Tani idach mevarchem berachas chasanim beveis chasanim uberachas erisin beveis erisin. Even according to Tanakama that says that berachas chasanim is only by the nisuin. But there is such a thing called birchas erisin. that by the Erisin, they do make a Birchas Erisin. What's that? Everybody knows. Birchas Erisin, what's the bracha? The bracha is what everybody knows. Bracha Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, Asher kedeshanu v'nispasav v'tzivanu ala rayos, v'asalanu v'sarusos, v'talanu v'sanasuos la'adei chupov v'kiddushin, and he stops right there. But everybody knows it goes further. That's not so simple. Some have a girsa in the name of Rabbi Yehuda also. So that's a machlokes. Do you say the sign off or not? And that the Gemara says, the one who doesn't have a chasima, we have many brachas that you just say without a sign off. You don't say again Baruch Hashem Bori Pri Eitz. Or all the brachas that are only one liner. Burn the first just to say maybe Baruch Hashem Chei Olamim. Or what do you say? You say Baruch. Why you say Baruch Chei Olamim? That's very strange. So that's only because of machlokes. Some say you're supposed to say Baruch Hashem Chei Olamim. Some say you don't say it at all. So what you're doing, what most people do, is a compromise. They say Baruch without Hashem's name. That's a chiddush. But some would say, really, the Gemara says yes to say Baruch Hashem Chei Olamim. And the reason why you say Baruch is because of that shita, but you don't want to say Hashem's name. Or else you wouldn't say it at all. You would say, you stop over there. So that's only because of a son. That's what he said. That's what he said. You said the same thing now?
No, that's why is the reason to assume sooner?
Why something I don't know. And the Gemara says, but those who say you do say a chasima is because just like kiddush. Rashi says that kiddush also bracha Hashem mekadesh Hashabbat. You have a long bracha and you sign off. So Rashi says this also similar to kiddush because it's kedusha. Kedusha, you can kiddush hayom. Also it has a sign off. Rashi says because it has something in between. It has a long bracha that has. It's not a short bracha. It's a long bracha. Then you have a sign off also. Here the Gemara says Birchas Erisin. Just to explain the Birchas Erisin, we have one more minute. That I think Rashi says over here that they're getting married for Erisin. This is the beginning. He gives her a ring, and how do they do nowadays? That they say this bracha. The Masonic Kedushin says it usually because the chassan sometimes doesn't know how to say it. So the Masonic Kedushin is mostly him. It's really the chassan's bracha. Hashem kedeshanu v'nisvosav v'tzivanu ala royos. What does it mean that Hashem commanded us not to marry erva? You can't marry relatives. What does that mean? Hashem prohibited us to have relations with an arusa. So Rashi learns that it means that we cannot marry even our own arusa. You have to wait till Nisuin. But I'm a little bit surprised. And then once we marry, then you let her marry. Then you let her be married. But I'm a little surprised that according to Rashi, why are you saying the bracha right now? Now you're doing everything. Why should you say in the bracha that Hashem prohibited us to have relations? Now you're doing everything. So it's a little strange that the bracha says that Hashem prohibited us to have relations with Arusa. That's not the subject. Right now we're getting married. You're doing the Erusin. So say something else. So I heard of Pshat that's different than Rashi. That Lasalas Arusa means that somebody else is not allowed to marry the Arusa. That means once you took her, so no one else is allowed to marry her, just everybody else. And that's a nice thing to say. That would be a nice Pshat that now he's taking Arusa. What does it do for him? It does for him that nobody else can take her. He can't take her either yet, but nobody else can take her. He has to wait until the Nisuin. But that would be a Pshat. Asalanu as Arusos, not as Arusos Lanu. Asalanu as Arusos, Lanu as Anasua, some say Anasua as Lanu. Of course, you all can marry the Nasua to yourself. But maybe the Pshat, Asalanu as Arusos, might be that it's usher for anybody else to marry an Arusa. She's a non-Arusa. She's already taken by somebody. That might be the Pshat in the Brahman.
Wouldn't it be a problem for those who live in Yehuda?
Then what?
Well, you said that
Well, first they make this bracha, and she's an Arusa now, and then they do Nisuin, and they say Sheva brachas. Now she's mutter. When is it mutter? What do we do? We're like Yehuda a little bit. We're like it's like we do.
I thought in Yehuda, there was Erusin, and she's still living in her father's house, but
they do Nisuin right away. So we
do Nisuin right away.
What does it mean? Right, they don't do. They do unofficial Nisuin. They do unofficial Nisuin. They do Sheva. They do Sheva brachas. What?
In their house, I thought it meant in her father's house. The brachas were in her father's.
Yes. And then they put a yichud. They go into the yichud room and they lock the door. And if they want to, they could have relations if they want.
Yeah.
So that's a mini wedding, Nisuin.
I see.
And the official Nisuin is going to be a year down the road. We also do Erusin and Nisuin right next to each other. We do under the chuppah. We do everything.
But
first we do this.
Right.
The advice is a real. But I'm just saying that the point that you have Asalanu Sarusas, that's for the next 5 minutes. She's going to be Asalanu Sarusas for everybody else, and still we're not in the Nisuin yet. But right away, in another 5 minutes, we're going to do Nisuin. So you also they can do that. Okay, Yashikoch, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We ended on Zion on the base.
Rebbe, just a quick clarification. When you say Yehuda, it's a location, right? Not the Shevet.
I'm sorry, Yehuda means right. Yehuda means right. It means the whole south of Eretz Yisrael. In the Mishnah, you have Yehuda and Gadol and Eber Yarden. Eretz Yisrael is divided into three. Yehuda is from Yehuda and down, which is Yehuda, maybe Binyamin also, but it means Yehuda and Shimon. That's the whole south of Eretz Yisrael. And then from Yerushalayim and up is the Gadol and Eber Yarden. So it doesn't mean Shevet Yehuda, it means the Eretz Yehuda. Yeshikov. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back in Hamat and with Tehillim today, right? Today's Tehillim. So I'll be back in 2 minutes. Yeshikov, everybody.
Oh, right. So